Hey guys, over the last couple of years, I've had loads of people ask me how they can support the show, and now you can. So if you like this show and you want to support it and you want to keep it free, head on over to everyonelovesguitar.com/support. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/support. Thanks for all you do. If you're a business owner and you want to increase your cash flow, or if you're a label or artist and you want to promote new music, then listen up. For information about advertising on Everyone Loves Guitar, including information on geographically targeted ads, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey guys, I got to tell you a quick story. I recently put in a pair of EMG pickups into my Les Paul Classic, and tinkering with electronics, wires, not my bag. That being said, a little over an hour later, I'd installed the pickups with literally no problems at all. And the quality of the sound is absolutely amazing. I put in the retroactive Fat 55s. That's a new set that they have, and that's because I wanted a vintage, British Brown sound. And these Fat 55s are modeled after the tone of the classic PAFs, which is exactly what I got. The thing I wasn't expecting is it sort of feels like my volume and tone knobs have been expanded to 20. There's like a lot more responsiveness in the volume and tone, and I could even get harmonics now at low volumes on the neck pickup, and any preconceived notions I had about installation being difficult or, there's a problem having a battery in there were totally wrong. The battery thing, it's like putting a battery in one of my kids' toys when they were little children growing up. It's just a total non-issue. And in fact, I'm going to wind up getting the Strat set next because installation for that is even easier because it comes with the pick guard and the pickup's already attached to the pick guard. And if you want to check out EMGs for yourself, now's actually a great time to do this because Rob and Allison are making a special offer available for listeners of this show only. And here it is. For a limited time, head on over to emgpickups.com, buy one or more sets of pickups, and enter ELG in the discount code section of the shopping cart. ELG, of course, for Everyone Loves Guitar. And they're going to give you 15% off, which is huge. The biggest discounts they ever give is 10%. Plus, they're going to give away $70 worth of free bonuses, including an EMG cinch bag, a pick tin, lanyards, stickers, and a t-shirt. Plus, you get a money-back guarantee if you're not 100% satisfied. Plus, not a 2-year performance guarantee on the performance of the actual pickups themselves, but a lifetime performance guarantee. And on top of everything else, you're going to get free shipping. So there's basically no risk at all here for you to try a set or two of EMG pickups. And the great thing about these pickups is, and I got 2 sets, once you install them, and by the way, there's no soldering involved at all, because I couldn't have done it if there was, quite frankly. But once you do install them, all you need to do to swap them out and put another set in is literally disconnect one wire on each pickup, and then you're done. That's it. It's kind of like putting Legos together. It's that easy. So go to emgpickups.com, enter ELG in the shopping cart for your discount code, and that's it. You get to take advantage of this offer right now. Man, this one's always a big challenge. If you want to buy or sell a home or investment property and you're here in the Tampa Bay area, in Hillsborough, Pinellas, or Pasco counties, then listen up. West Florida Real Estate is a local residential real estate broker that's helped over 250 Bay Area homeowners buy and sell their properties in the last 4 years alone. If you're looking to sell, you'll want to get their free report, The 7 Biggest Mistakes Homeowners Make When Hiring a Realtor. And if you're looking to buy a property, you definitely want to get your hands on the 21 Most Expensive Mistakes Tampa Home Buyers Make When Buying a Home. Each one of these reports is going to save you time and money. Inside, you'll discover the 7 most important things to consider when hiring a realtor, what to do if you're buying and selling a home at the same time, and the danger of choosing a realtor who agrees with everything you say. To get your hands on these free reports, head on over to westfloridarealestate.com. That's westfloridarealestate.com. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. Man, we have a great guy with us today. We're with Tim Godwin. A lot of people listening to this know Tim from his career as a musician and his second career as artist relations guy with Taylor. And you ask around about Tim, the first thing everybody says is two things everybody says. Number one, what a great guy. And I've had the opportunity to chat with Tim a lot. I met him in person, and that is very true. And the second thing they say is, he's a really good guitar player as well. So here you go. We're going to have Tim Godwin. I just want to thank Jeff King for really the genesis of hooking Tim and I up. So thanks a lot, Jeff. And Tim, thanks for coming on the show. Let me give you Tim's background. He's currently Director of Artist Entertainment Relations for Taylor Guitars. Before joining Taylor, he was the Artist Relations Manager for Line 6, and he was an integral part of the team at Line 6 that worked on product development, strategic partnerships, and brand awareness. He's had the opportunity to work and develop relationships and partnerships with world-class artists such as Zach Brown, Jason Mraz. Did I get that name right? Yeah, I think I'm messing that up. The Edge from U2, James Taylor, Lenny Kravitz, and Dave Mustaine of Megadeth. Before joining Taylor and Line 6 in the musician's world, he toured the world as a guitar player with such notable acts as Air Supply and Laura Brannigan. He also appeared on The Jay Leno Show with Grammy Award-winning country star Shelby Lynne, and as a member of the house band on Fox's Sunday Comics. He co-founded the band Farmer with music producer Marshall Altman, which led to a publishing deal with EMI and a record deal with Aware Records. He worked with and went to school with another really cool guy, Grammy Award-winning producer Pete Anderson. Pete, what's up, brother? Playing on 2009 release of a new Tanya Tucker record. He recently composed the music for the film short Last 3 Minutes, which is gaining worldwide attention, and that was directed by Po Chan. Check out that short. It's like 3 minutes, right? It is 3 minutes, maybe 3.5.
Yeah,
imagine that. It's a really cool. It's a cool movie, and it's a very good soundtrack. So check that out on YouTube. And Tim and I also go to the same barber. So Tim, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Hey man, it's so good to talk to you like this because I know you're ready. This is kind of funny. This is very unusual for me.
Yeah. It is.
It's really weird. Not weird, like good weird. It's just like, so you've had 2 full-time careers. One as a full-time musician and now as artist relations person. And you still play regularly as well. So I have a few questions. When you left the performance aspect of music and moved into the business end of things, what were some of the bigger adjustments you had to make, both in your day-to-day routine and like skill set wise?
Well, it was a weird time. I mean, it was a great time. I just gotten into a house, gotten married, wanted to start having kids. The life as a musician, it's feast or famine or the ebb and flow of things, and always staying ahead of it and hustling and trying to find that next gig. And I had met, to kind of give a background of how I got into it, I was doing a gig with the Grassroots. I was subbing for my friend Dusty Hanvey. Like summer gigs, like it was just this random stuff. I would go, hey, guy for hire. I'd go play. I'd go fly out on Friday, come back Sunday. And on one of the gigs, there was a sax player that was playing in the band that was a music rep. Josh Blacker, I think is his, and I didn't even know what a music rep was. Basically a guy that reps a bunch of musical gear and sells them to stores. And he goes, hey, I'm working with this new company called Line 6, and you play guitar. I need you to come demo these products for me. And to me, I'm going, it's a gig, right?
Right, yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll do it. And I do that, and then I end up meeting the people at Line 6. Mind you, at the time, Line 6 only had the one amp. It was this ugly-looking modeling amp that was new, and the concept was amazing. It really, once you knew how to work it, it sounded incredible. But the visual part of it was, not a beautiful-looking amp. So one thing led to another. Then Line 6 said, hey, I want to send you up. Can we hire you just as a part-time guy to go do these things with reps in different parts of the country? So I went on 3 different trips. Then they said, hey, do you want a job? And I was kind of at that point of, I don't know if I want a job. That's kind of scary. That means I'm giving it up, right?
Yeah.
and moving to the other side or whatever, or
the dark side.
the other side. Yeah. And I had a lot to think, it was a lot to think about.
Yeah.
And I thought, do I want to make this change? Because this wasn't just doing a day job. I couldn't, because as a musician, a lot of times you would refer to during the lean times, you had to pick up a day job, right?
Sure.
Or a whatever. And I couldn't look at this as a day job. So the first thing was like, for me to think of this is like a career.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a new thing. Right. So, and I went to obviously I had to talk with my wife and talk to her about it and going like, hey, this could be great. I figured I could always quit. I could try it, and she goes, hey, listen, I married you as a musician. That has to come from you, your choice, which it's funny. I remind her of that at times because it was a beautiful thing for her to say to me.
Yeah, that was really cool.
And she goes, I did say that. I said, yes. I said, you did. And so,
like when things are going, when when you're frustrated or something now, you say, hey, you told me to do this, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
I hear you.
So, we had talked about that, but the biggest part for me was in my heart, that I could be convincing myself to go into this new thing, because that meant it was a whole new thing. I couldn't just go into it like, hey, I'm just doing this casually. I had to take it serious.
Right.
Because I looked at this as a great opportunity to go. And it took me a couple of months. I mean, they kept asking me. I said, I need to think about it. It took, I think at least 2.5 months to really do some soul searching, and because I knew when I said yes that I had to be comfortable in my heart, that I was doing the right thing.
That's a huge change. I mean, you got to like wake up and do something every day at a certain time on someone else's schedule. That's tough. To go.
It was hard because they said, okay, we need you in here at 8. And I went, can we make it 9? Because I mean, 8, I'm not. I was used to staying up till 3 in the morning or 2 or whatever, and that was probably the hardest part was that adjustment, doing that. But I thought, I'm going to learn something from this too. There's a lot to learn, so I kind of looked at it as kind of a new chapter and a new, part of my life. I thought, so for the first couple of years, I really didn't play much. I mean, I played at home, but I kind of focused on, let me try to figure this end up, and what that was going to be like, So I started doing, I thought, well, I could do the artistry, bring in artists and do that. And then I also worked with magazines and did ad buys and did reviews and did press releases, and I had a lot of people that helped me along the way that were very helpful, because I was able to grow with the company, which was helpful. So I was able to make a lot of mistakes, and I had a great mentor and friend that became my friend quickly. Is Jack Sawney. He was my boss at
Line 6.
At Line 6, great guitar player, very creative person. He played with Dire Straits.
Holy shit!
During the 80s, was on he was a barefoot guy with a bandana and all the.
They all had bandanas 80s. Back in the.
I guess they all did.
I remember Mark Knopfler with a bandana too.
Yeah, but he was a great guitar player, and then went on to be like VP of marketing for Guitar Center and wrote several novels, and very
interesting guy.
Chef, one of my dearest friends. So he was kind of my mentor, really, through that process of going into that world.
You were very open. Like, that's one thing about you that I admire. You seem like, in general, pretty open to new things and new ideas. Have you always been like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a pretty quiet guy. I mean, when you first get to know me. And I mean, as a kid, I was shy, but I listened. I think I would observe and listen and kind of go, oh, what about that? And I think that, and I am open. I mean, I love to travel. I mean, when I was 18, I lived in Germany for like 5 months.
Really?
Well, my uncle was a voice teacher at Ithaca College in upstate New York.
Yeah.
He taught voice, and he had a sabbatical to go to Germany and Italy to learn German and Italian for operas. So he, my aunt and my 2 little cousins, they said, hey, you want to come out because I was really close to him. He was the one that inspired me to play guitar because he was a folk singer in the 60s, and he would come to our house and we were little kids, and he would play. And
that's cool.
I want to do that. I want to play guitar and travel. So I always had this, I love the idea of traveling and exploring and all that. So I saved my money and bought a ticket and went to New York for, a week, and then flew to Germany and lived above a little pizza place in a little town outside of Munich.
That's awesome.
I'd go to Munich 3 times a week and went to Austria to go skiing. And I mean, I had a full adventure.
Yeah, you took advantage of that. That's great.
Yeah. So yeah, I like to try to, because I don't want to, I got to keep open and keep learning and all that. Sure.
What was the best thing about not playing music full time, and what was the most difficult thing about not playing music full time? And what would you suggest to somebody else who's at a stage where they have an opportunity to step out of music, and like, not to tell them what to do, but maybe some thoughts on giving them advice on things to consider as part of the decision-making process?
I mean, the best thing about it is that I was able to say no to gigs that I didn't want to do, that I had to take for money.
Yeah.
That was probably that I could go, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. I can do things I love to play, things I love to play. That was the upside. The downside was not playing as much, as having the time to play as much as I'd want to, and I would struggle in the early part of it. I would struggle with, at Line 6, I would go out and meet with bands. I'd go to shows, and I think where it was the downside was when I'd go hear a great band and go like, holy shit, man, I miss that. I miss being on the stage and playing, or being in a studio recording with somebody, and just that whole I love that whole brotherhood of the family vibe within a studio of people playing or on stage but I will tell you, as soon as the show was over and I saw them get it back in their bunks on their bus and being out for another 3 months, I was like, okay, I'm glad I'm not doing that.
So you were really ready to get off the road because of primarily family stuff. You just newly married and wanted to start a family.
Yeah, just that, and just knew that it was really difficult. I mean, it's difficult to keep a relationship together when you're traveling, when you're away that much,
It's difficult to keep a relationship together when you're home.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, seriously, you got to work. You got to work. It's not like, fogging a mirror, man. Not if you want a good or successful relationship, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine what it's like being on the road, and then all of a sudden it's like, it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine when you're, young and single. It's easy, but later it's like, okay, you got to go. Okay, I can't be doing this. I'd be on the bus and go, okay, I don't want to be doing this when I'm 40. Yeah. Or 50, or so I need to have an exit, strategy or plan. Not that I said those words, but in my head, I guess that's what I was thinking. Like, how do I get out of this?
You did this. I mentioned the film score last 3 minutes, which was great. How'd you wind up doing that? And what was your experience in writing scores? It was really good.
Oh, thanks. It was, that was just, Shane Hurlbutt is a cinematographer who our kids went to school together.
Okay.
And when I lived up in Camarillo, and just got to be friends with them, and he was one of the first guys. And mind you, that I did this a while ago, so I know you mentioned recently, but it's still up there and it's done really well. But he was one of the first guys to really go from the big cameras and focus in on like these new Canons can shoot really, because all that you saw was shot on a Canon
on a handheld, like a 35 millimeter SLR.
Yeah. Yes. So
I mean, the quality of that is, I mean, you could shoot stuff on your iPhone just as good nowadays. It's crazy.
And now he has classes that you can sign up and join and do, where he's, for him, it's all about, it's the glass, the lens, get the right lens, and lighting. So he's teaching the importance of, you can do that with this camera. You don't need a big, giant camera to do it on, but and obviously you need content. And that, so he worked with this director, Po Chan, and that they wrote this, and they said, hey, would you want to do the score for this? So I and we need it kind of along the lines of Americana kind of sounding. So the theme, Shenandoah was kind of the theme that they wanted through it. So I just did different variations of it, and I had Pat Bergeson play harmonica on it.
Pat Bergeson, I had him on here. He's a great harmonica player.
He's made, story about.
How'd you hook up with Pat? Like, how did you hundreds of people? What made you pick Pat? Or if you're comfortable answering that? Yeah.
Well, one, he's a great player, but I met him when I started at Line 6.
Oh, so you've known him a long time.
Yeah, I'd known him a long time, and I'd kind of said, hey, what can I send you the files, and what would you charge? And then I had Tammy, Jeff King's wife, play
fiddle,
mandolin and fiddle on it.
Very cool.
So I just said, just play me. Here's a track. Just play me a bunch of stuff. Play the theme here and then I would just edit it later. And that was a lot of. I mean, I worked for a guy, Jim Latham. They do a lot of TV stuff. So I was around, kind of doing, score stuff and different things like that, which was a different mindset than playing like a song.
That's really cool. Pat had such a good story. I remember his story was excellent. Are you working on anything now that you're excited about?
Yeah, actually, there's this songwriter I've known for a long time, Bill Revelis, who I've played on his stuff for years. He'd get a lot of placements on TV and film, but he came to me a year ago and said, Tim, I really want to do, he's done various artist CDs and stuff, and he said, I just wanted, and I've been involved in a lot of them. And he said, hey, you take these and I want you to come produce these songs for me, not only as an artist, and then we can do a version for TV and film, because that's where the money is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I said, man, I'd love to. So we thought we're going to take a different approach, because his approach was always, he would write these songs. He's just a manic. He writes all the time and just writing. And he would come and write a song and come in and just sing it as he's reading the lyrics. And I went, you know what? We're going to do this differently. We're going to take our time. We're going to really develop these songs so that you sing. I want you to live these songs. I want you to learn. I want you to sing them like you've sung them your whole life, so that we get to know who Bill is, and not just reading them off a sheet. And it's taking a little longer because of that, but it's like, I think for this time in his life and where I'm at, it's a perfect thing for the two of us. So I'm excited. And it's an Americana vein.
This is not the first thing you've produced either, is it?
I produced, other singer-songwriter things, but nothing to the nothing that's critically acclaimed
yet.
But I like being in the studio. I like that creative process.
Right. That's cool, man. You had a record deal with Aware. What happened with that and with your band Farmer?
That was my friend Marshall Altman, an amazing singer-songwriter, now great, amazing producer, and one of my best friends. He's incredible, and he we'd had several bands for a while. I met him by my roommate was engineering some of his songs, and he had a studio there down in Hollywood, right off Sunset and Cahuenga, and little tiny 16-track studio, and we'd go in there and we'd do everything from voice. I did voiceovers for him at one point, doing like for grocery stores to demo songs and just doing stuff. And then we thought, hey, let's put a band together, and we had various people in it at the time. We had this Jeremy Toback was in it for a bit. He's an amazing he's an amazing songwriter and singer, and he was in a band. He was in a band called Brad too. That was
with the guys from Pearl Jam.
Yeah, so Jeremy was in that band. So he was a bass player.
Great band.
And
they had like 4 or 5 CDs.
Yeah,
and they had one. I think they did like live or acoustic MTV even or something like that.
Yeah, Brad. It was a great
really
band.
Good
Brad.
band.
And he just really talented. So we had that, and then it morphed into another band, and we had all kinds of names, and then it ended up being called Farmer. And and then we ended up doing these Aware tours. So we with the publishing money bought an RV, and that was the whole event. That was that was after all my life playing on in the house band and being with Air Supply and doing all the big tours. The most fun was being in an RV with a bunch of my friends playing in little clubs across America.
And you went all the way across the country with that?
Oh yeah, we'd usually start in Colorado and then work our way east, and we'd play with a lot of local bands like Cowboy Mouth, that's big in the South. So we would always be like a support band for these other bands. Aware would do these Aware tours where they'd group all these bands together. Greg Latterman was really smart about that. And, his thing started with doing compilation CDs, selling them out of the back of his, truck. That's where he found Hootie and the Blowfish and, worked with Dave Matthews and a bunch of bands like that early on. And he's a really brilliant business guy and just label guy. And so so we were the first band they signed. And so we would do these little Aware tours, and we would be out with Vertical Horizon. So that's where I met Matt Scannell. We would open for them. But there was just kind of he and Keith were the two front guys, and we'd play with, like I said, Cowboy Mouth, Jacko Pierce that were big throughout Texas, and Stir from St. Louis. Who else?
So you'd be opening for these strong regional bands.
Yeah, so there'd be like 4 of us sometimes on a bill.
That's a big show.
Yeah, and that's what the whole thing was, that you knew you were going to get all these Aware bands that did well in college towns.
Okay.
And so we had an RV, and we had all these adventures and mind you, this was pre-cell phone. This was mid-90s, so no cell phones. It was all, we had pagers if there was an emergency.
That's so funny.
And I remember being in the middle of downtown Chicago, putting in a thermostat in our RV because it overheated. And then probably the most fun adventure was, it's funny now looking back on it, but we had left Denver. It was the middle of winter. It was in January on a Sunday. Sun was going down. We're going through Eisenhower Tunnel, heading west, and right at the end of the tunnel, the RV just stops.
Oh my God!
We coast out of the tunnel and we pull off to the side, and we're going, holy shit! What are we? We're not mechanics. I had very basic knowledge of what to do, and we had no idea.
There's no cell phones.
No cell phones. It's getting dark, and it's the middle of winter. We're going we are gonna
freeze to death on an RV.
Yeah, I'm thinking like Don or Pass, like we're going to start eating each other, cannibalizing, we're
Oh my God.
So, and all of a sudden, man, like the angels came out of nowhere. This pickup truck comes from the other heading east, and I'm going, we're just waving our arms going like, help. The guys pull over. They're from a little town called Rifle, Colorado. and they happened to be mechanics.
Wow.
And within 20 minutes, they got our RV. Yeah, so we gave them swag because we did our own swag. I mean, that's how we got from gig to gig, is selling swag. We had these flannel shorts that said farmer, and we made them turkey dogs, whatever we could help,
Wow.
But yeah, we lived, we survived.
What happened with the band, though? I mean, ultimately,
like all bands,
it just didn't have the steam.
I think it just got to the point of like, it just kind of dissolved, actually our last gig was, I joke about, was at my wedding. We played at my wedding. So it might have been that. Might have been
funny.
The last gig, just was the last straw. But, Marshall I think everybody had other things to do, and Marshall he had an opportunity to go work at a label.
Okay.
At Capitol, and so he took that, and we still, to this day, we joke about, half joking, half like, hey man, because now he's wanting to play. He's kind of at the point where he wants to play
back together.
Like, come on, he goes, Tim, let's just, you and I will go out and we'll go play, and so who knows, we might do that one of these days. I don't know.
There you go. Where'd you grow up?
Denver.
Oh, you grew up in Denver. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was your childhood like growing up?
Just a typical, Midwest childhood, a lot, playing in the streets with your kids, riding bikes, going on adventures down the Highline Canal like Tom Sawyer, just kind of, I had a really great childhood. My parents divorced when I was in 6th grade, but my dad still lived in town. We'd see him on Sundays, and my stepdad was incredible, and I gained a older stepbrother, who turned me on to, I got me my first electric guitar, and he taught me how to play Day Tripper on guitar.
So he was a pretty important person in your life.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. He is, because I look, his albums were a little different than mine. He had some Hendrix and different things. So I started listening to, that, and he was several years older. So he was like, and when we all moved in, he was in college. So he would really live at home during the summer.
And you had 2 younger brothers, you said, right?
So I have 2 younger brothers and a sister.
Oh, wow. 4 kids.
4 kids.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And we're all like within 5 years of each other.
Do you guys live close now, or?
Everyone's still in Denver.
Oh, you're the only one in California?
Yeah.
It's not far. It's not far though, is it?
A 2-hour flight. I'm going back this summer. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, no, I had, a great childhood with him. We all got along real well, and, other than the normal, sibling stuff, but, and I love being with them now. I love being around them, and they're, there was a period that we all, I shared a room with my one brother, and it was great. We still joke about how we try to like wait and scare the other one, scare the other one the most. And then my dad remarried, and they adopted 2 children. So I've got we didn't grow up with them, but they lived, we'd see them on the weekends. My brother and sister that were adopted there. So
very cool. It's funny how siblings, like my 2 boys, they're 27 and 29. So I sent them a text. We went out to dinner, the 3 of us, like 2 weeks ago. We had a great time. I said, guys, we got to do this. I said, let's plan on, what are you doing? Let's get our schedule together. Like within 2 minutes, it degrades into the 2 of them just like giving each other shit. Like, just like, can we plan dinner? And it's just hilarious because then they come over to the house like for a barbecue, and they're out back, and like the girlfriends wind up, I can't take it, the 2 of them.
Right.
It's really funny how like siblings,
fall back into it.
Yeah, they love each other, but it's like, oh my God, even though they're grown ass men with kids,
Yeah, that's right.
It's quite funny.
Yeah.
When you went to Musicians Institute,
mm-hmm.
Did you know?
It's called GIT back then.
That's right, Guitar Institute of Technology. Did you know? You knew from an early age you wanted to play guitar. as a
Oh,
profession.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, when my uncle started coming and giving us I mean, I still have pictures of us sitting in the living room with my uncle doing a little concert, and just wanting to have a guitar, you know.
I just thought of something. It's totally not relevant, but it happens to me. Do you ever show people old pictures and where you, of course, have hair, and people and they look at you like, "Oh, you had hair?" Like, no, I was born bald.
Right, yeah.
Does that happen to you? Isn't that like really funny? Oh, you had hair? Of course, I freaking had
Yeah.
hair.
Damn it.
But it's like astounding to people if they
Well,
don't.
it is because they know me as this,
Right.
right?
Same
Or
thing.
even my kids now, they laugh.
Right.
I mean, I had hair when they were real little, but then,
Same here.
I'll show old videos and stuff, and they they laugh. They
funny.
go like, "God, Dad, I can't believe you
I
look
can't
like
believe you
that."
had hair. It's like really funny, isn't it? Like, okay.
That's very funny. Yeah.
Man, so what were some of maybe the darker periods throughout in your life that you had to deal with, and how'd you get through them?
I think, I think there were hard times moving to California when you're 20, alone.
What made you do
broke.
that? To go to school.
You go to school. Yeah, I just really, I didn't want to go to, we looked at like trade schools and going to, all my friends a lot of them went to CU and CSU in Colorado. So I'd go up there my first year out of high school and go party with them on the weekends, and see the college life. And that just didn't, I don't know. I just knew that I wanted to be a player and I wanted to play, and I needed to either go to New York or LA, and LA was closer. And I had my aunt lives in San Diego, so she was close. And then, so there's that. So I moved there, and I think that there was times of just being like, man, what am I doing? And I think honestly, when there's times like that, I pick up my guitar. I mean, my guitar is like, even now I don't have to be, in a dark or sad place, but I just pick it up and it just makes me happy.
Yeah, there's a transformation of energy that you feel so much more after playing. I know, that's what I love about playing the most. It's,
I mean, it can be a simple
cathartic.
chord. Yeah, it could just be playing a simple chord or just something you played 1,000 times, just an old riff or just strumming or just whatever it is. It just the sound and that, especially an acoustic guitar, because it has that immediate, you feel the resonance, going through your body, holding the guitar, and it's just very therapeutic. It's like, it's like your best friend,
Any advice? Well, first of all, I think you're a really good example of, I think there are a lot of people that would probably want to get out of the music business and do something in music, but not playing, to have more stability, but still be accessible in the business. And I think you're a really good example, because you've been doing it a while now. So, I mean, if anybody listening to this, let this be the permission maybe that you need to go do that, if that's what you really want to do, and you've got literally, before I knew you, I'd heard your name like 25 times, and everybody really likes you, and you just got a great reputation. And I think that counts for a lot as a human being,
Well, yeah, I mean, that's nice to hear. I've been very lucky, I mean, I love people. I love being around people. I love meeting new people. Everyone's got a very interesting and a great story.
Yeah.
And when you get to hear that and get to know someone like that, it just makes it even more special. And I've got to, musicians are great, wonderful people.
Oh,
and I love being in the brotherhood, the sister, with my brothers and sisters that play, that there's a joy, and I think it goes, the one thing I did notice when you're in that situation, you're playing in a band, or you're doing you're doing a session, or you're touring, or even rehearsing for a gig with a handful of people. There's a bond that happens that doesn't happen in the corporate world, that is pretty magical. That because you're sharing this intimate, everyone's kind of raw and they're kind of showing their emotions as players, and you get to know someone really well in a month over more so than 5 years working in an office.
I would agree with that 110%.
So I like to keep, I love hanging with musicians. I love going out and hearing players and meeting them. And most of them are great people. And the ones that are assholes, I don't deal with. So I don't know those people. Yeah. So
it's very simple.
So I've been very fortunate to just meet and I just, great, wonderful people. I've gotten to, Jeff King, we started this awesome. With his, I was just talking to him this morning.
Great guy.
And wonderful human being. And we laugh together. We've had some serious talks together about, just family thing, kids and stuff, it's nice to share that with someone. And I've been very, very lucky.
One thing I give you credit for is I think a lot of people in this situation, and you didn't mention this, that's why I give you credit, would have thought about what will other people think of me? And that never matters unless you choose to let it matter, you know, because for the most part, nobody's going to sleep at night laying in bed thinking about you anyway.
Right, exactly.
So all the shit in your head of what do people think of me if I do this, that doesn't matter, man. You have priorities and, you got to wake up in the morning and feeling happy about what you're doing. And, no one else is, no matter what someone's thinking of you, that's not going to impact that, which is when you wake up in the morning, how you feel. So I give you credit for that because a lot of people I think are, tend to get caught up in that of what will that look like? Who cares?
Right. Mind you, that does happen at times where I might say or do something and later I go like, oh shit, what's that person going to think? The way I maybe I shouldn't have said that, No,
I mean with your decision to
oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
I see. Yeah.
With your decision to like, I give you credit for not sitting there, man, because I didn't hear anything like that. Like, what would people think of me? You said, hey, let me talk to my wife, who's the only person's opinion that matters. And she said, do what you want to do, honey. She was very supportive of you.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. I really give you credit for that.
Well, that's why it took me 2 months to come up with that decision too. Because like I said, it had to come from my heart and know that when I walked in that morning, it was like, okay, this is who I am. And I had to, the other part of it too, I'll add, I made a conscious decision when I spoke with people. I didn't talk about me and my past as a musician.
Right. I'm the artist relations guy for Line 6. I'd love to be able to do this with you.
Yeah, because a lot of times my wife goes, well, do they know what a great guitar player, because she's my biggest promoter. I go like, honey, as time goes on, if I get to know this person better, and I talk to them, they'll find out and it'll come in conversation. But I didn't want that to be my first introduction to someone because that looked weird.
Well, it's not relevant in that situation
it's not
either.
It makes no sense because I'll give you an example of why, because I saw that firsthand happen early on. I was, I won't mention names, but when Russell Hitchcock, who's a singer in Air Supply, he was doing a solo record. And he invited me down. Hey, why don't you come down to the studio because Keith Olsen is producing and Dan Huff's playing guitar on the track. Wow. You can come down and meet. And I thought, oh my God, I want to meet Dan. And Dan, he's just one of the sweetest people you'd ever meet and just the most amazing, talented musician, guitar player ever. So I got to hang with him and just kind of watch him play. And And the other thing that it was good about that, it was like not everything was one take, right? Like the magical, we did this record in one take. It's like, no, yes, they have a lot to pull from their toolkit, to pull out things and try, but it's an experiment too. And it gave me, also I learned like to have freedom to like, it's okay to like mess up and just go for it and try things.
Yeah.
Because
cool.
that's how you expand, right? To do that. So
in anything, not just
in anything,
yeah, music.
You're right. So, but what was funny is a guy that was repping an amp came into the studio to show Dan this new amp. So we took a break, and I'm going like, who is this guy? I never knew that there was even people did that, right? But so he brings this amp in, he's showing Dan all the knobs and this and that, and he's repping the company and blah blah blah, and so they say, okay, cool. And after a couple 15 minutes, they got to get back to the session. So the guy packs up the stuff, and then he leaves them a card to the producer and to Dan saying, hey, here's my card if you need anything. And if you ever need any guitar tracks done, call me.
That's totally.
Oh, yes. Very.
And also, if your roof leaks, I do that on the weekends. Yeah, it's too much. Yeah.
Well, the fact you're handing Dan Huff a card.
If you need guitar tracks, Dan Huff.
or to keep in front of Dan Huff to Keith Olsen, the producer, I'm going like, oh, that is wrong.
Yeah, that is wrong.
So, but what I saw was the post of that after he left. So the whole joke for the rest of the day was like, if Dan missed a note,
you got to call this guy.
Better call so-and-so. I got his number right here.
That's funny, man. Yeah.
So it kind of, that stuck in my head as like, okay, I need to be coming in and repping. Now, had he come back a bunch of times and got to know him, they said, oh, you happen to play too? Because a lot of guys get gigs that way too.
Totally different.
Yeah, totally different. So that always stuck when I started doing this to go, okay, I'm not going to be that guy.
Well, from a sales standpoint, you can't do two things at once anyway. I've been selling running a marketing company 21 years. You cannot, people do not process stuff like that. Yeah. Especially two things that they're related, but not really. It's like, the dentist says to you, oh, and by the way, if you got any problems with your knees,
right,
they're kind of related, but not really,
Yeah, exactly.
It's just different. Yeah. Wow. Let's talk about music, gear for a few minutes. Oh, actually,
okay.
Let me just ask you one question. Any advice that you would have gone back and given your younger self?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I probably would have told myself to trust my instincts more, go certain opportunities that came up that I should have, maybe have taken, that I should have acted on that I didn't. I mean, nothing comes, not a certain example, but I would say those would be the big, the big things.
Thanks. Music, guitars. Do you still practice?
Every day.
You do?
I play. Yeah. I cannot stop playing.
What was the last thing you were practicing?
I go through these fun well, nowadays it's so great because there's so many avenues to go out and like learn bluegrass or this or that or dive in. So I was in a bluegrass phase for a little bit or this or that. So this last week I've been on a Osnoy David Grissom kick.
There you go. Two great guitar players. Yeah, man.
So just, and a lot of it is concepts, it's like their approach, it's not so much, part of it's learning there's certain licks you go like, oh, that's a cool lick, I want to learn that. But right. A lot of it is just how do they think on their approach to whether soloing or comping or different techniques, I just always want to keep learning. Because it keeps it, you always fall back into your comfort, your bag of tricks or your kind of comfort things. But it's like I want to expand those to kind of learn new little things to make it fun.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
Oh no, that's okay.
Both of those guys, their shows are pretty popular in general. People like listening to those episodes. I've had them both on it. In fact, I had Oz on a second time to promote his new record, just like recently, I think.
He's a freak of nature and just a sweetheart of a guy too.
Yeah, but he's got a really unique approach to playing the way he plays, and he's very consistent with that.
Yes, yeah, I love his approach. I love how he goes inside and outside and back. Matter of fact, I did a song with a singer friend of mine. We're doing these cover songs. I did Black Friday. I did a version of Black Friday with my friend Chris Woolley, who's a great singer. The Steely Dan song. And I asked Oz if he'd put a solo on it for me. And he laid down a bunch of solos. I just kind of comped the solos through it. So it was interesting to hear how his approach to that song was.
Yeah. He plays a lot all over the city. I know he does a lot. He plays at a lot of clubs downtown. I'd like to love to catch him one time if I'm there.
Oh, you've never seen him live?
No, I have not.
Oh,
in the city when he's playing.
That was one of my treats if I'd go to New York, and I'd make sure I'd be there on a Monday night to catch him at. He'd play Mondays at
55.
No, not the 55. Down in the Village, the
Joe's. No, that's not in the Village.
It'll come to me, but he's been there forever.
The Vanguard?
No, it used to be an old folk place.
Bitter End.
Bitter End. Thank you.
Yeah.
He played there.
That's cool. He was really funny. He goes, "Hey, next time you're in New York, let's go for pizza."
Yeah.
It's so funny with his accent. Hear him say that. He's like very New York. He's half his accent's like really New York, and it's like half Israeli. It's really funny.
It is. It's a very unique accent.
Man, guitar wise, what's your go-to guitar, and what other two would round out your top three?
My go-to on electric is an SG. And I just love SGs. They sound great clean, and they just have this chiminess about them. There's something about just an all mahogany body that just sounds great. I've got a Les Paul and Les Paul Jr., but the SG is probably my number one go-to.
Is that a newer one or a vintage? Or?
It's like a reissue from 20 years ago, maybe.
Okay, cool.
So, and then I've got ESP Strat that I've had that's probably at least 20, 25 years old.
That was one in your office, I think. I played that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool, man.
That guitar I put a Fender bridge on it just because it had one of those like slick modern bridges, which I didn't like. I've had an old Fender bridge I put on in new pickups, and that made a difference. But just the wood, it's a good sounding guitar.
Yeah.
It's just
feels great. It's easy to play too.
Oh yeah. That would be my second. Third, would float between Les Paul Jr. I love Les Paul Jr.'s. And then I've got the sister of the Strat. I've got an ESP Telly.
What, that Junior, is that a old one or?
Again, yeah, probably 25 years. So it's not that old. I mean, it's old. When I think old guitars, it's not like a 60s or. Right.
Nowadays, 25 years is, you'd have guys on Reverb, vintage, like big capital letters. This is the real deal, vintage.
Right. Not quite vintage, but it sounds great. I've put some Lawler pickups in that. That sounds good.
Awesome.
And then I've got, and I think obviously Taylor, the new Taylor. That is my go-to.
The Grand Pacific.
Not to sound like I'm like a plug, but it's true. It's like because I've got an older Taylor that I like, and I've got a J45 that was in a Larrivee, and I've got a handful of acoustics, but I think this is definitely the one that was okay. I'm buying this guitar. It's just I can't take it back to work. I've been playing it every day, and I'm going, okay, I have to get this guitar now. But I'd say though that, and then as far as guitars go.
Very cool, man. You probably played with a lot of people. Name some players that you've enjoyed jamming with, just because you're both professionally and your job, you're connecting with so many players.
Oh, my dog's.
Your dog's in there?
Yes.
That's cool, man.
Teddy wants to play ball because Shelby's still sleeping. Yeah. Jamming. Man, that's a good. That's a good question. I mean, it's funny. A lot of the I would say, well, when I did actually playing at that on that TV show was great because Mike Baird was playing drums, who is one of my all-time favorite drummers. If you look, he's played on like hundreds of songs in the 80s and 70s and 80s and 90s. Just a great, solid drummer. He was probably one of my favorite drummers to play with. A little bit. He was kind of my mentor during my LA days was Michael Thompson.
Oh yeah, sure.
So that's how I got the gig on that TV show. He was doing it, and I think it just turned out like it was too much for him because he had bigger things to do.
Yeah, session wise.
And I subbed for it, which I think ended up being an audition in hindsight. Just like, hey, just sub for me for a day, and then after that, I did it for the next season and a half. So
it was an audition, effectively.
I think so. It wasn't presented like that, but I'm sure
if it worked, they were going to offer you the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. He just said, just sub for me for this one thing. And they probably worked out and it was like, okay, let's. So, no, I was very great. He was, very helpful and a dear friend, just, very close to his family, would hang out all the time and just sit and watch him play and try to, and he's just such a great player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first LP that you bought?
Beatles, Yesterday and Today.
Oh, that's cool. It's funny how you always remember that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's like one of those, like, okay, I need to get that and, put it in one of those album frames to put in my room,
I have one record in an album frame. It's a Neil Young record. It's not, I don't even think I've ever listened to the record. I just like the cover. It's like Old Days is what it's called. It's got a picture of like walking down this rural, I don't know. I guess because I grew up in the Bronx, I just looked at this thing and like, man, it just looks so peaceful. Right. Yeah, it was just something about it. Huh. Desert Island Discs, man, top 3.
Oh.
Just for now.
I would say, the GOAT. So, Teddy, stop it.
Does that dog know who you're on a call with?
I don't know. Teddy, see who I'm talking to?
That's a cute little dog, man. Oh my God.
This dog runs a house, but she is, oh my God, I didn't think I'd ever fall in love with a little dog, but she is. But so Desert Island, Kind of Blue. That was when I first heard that out of high school. It was like, and I think that's everybody's experience with that album. I think that's a gateway to jazz.
If you get in, yeah, that is the gateway. I haven't been able to get in, so I've listened to that like a bunch of times. And every time I listen, I'm like, nope, not ready. But that is such a common record.
It is, and it just really, even to this day, I'll listen to it and I love that record and that one, Axis Bold is
called that Gateway to Jazz. I think it's a really good title for that.
It is kind of your. I think prior to that it was the into real jazz. Prior to that, it's the Chuck Mangionis and the pop jazz was kind of your like candy.
Herb Alpert was another good one.
Yeah, absolutely,
really good.
But so that one, and then Hendrix, Axis Bold as Love is just, and then let's say James Taylor's Gorilla.
Oh, he was a big influence on you. I didn't realize that.
Matt, I seen him probably a dozen times growing up in Red Rocks.
That's cool. Did you see a lot of good shows at Red Rocks? You must.
Oh yeah, that was a great.
Because you lived there until you were like 20 or something like that.
Yeah, so I grew up going there. So in high school we'd go back then it was all general seating, so we would make a day of it. So a bunch of us would, pack a cooler in our Frisbees and get up there.
Oh my God, that's so Denver.
Oh, it is.
That's so pack a cooler in our Frisbees. That's very Denver. Like it's like a very East Coast perception of Denver. Anyway, I don't know what Denver's really like, but
no, that is it. It's like your Frisbee, and we get there at noon,
right?
And we'd just be hanging out, and then we'd catch sound check.
Awesome! What a cool thing.
And the bands were always very approachable, so you'd talk to them, and I think that's the other part that really made me want to be. That was the deal. That sealed the deal right there. Seeing shows at Red Rocks that went like, I want to do this.
Did you ever get to play there?
You know what's funny? I played there once with playing bass. I was hired by this friend of mine to do they're the Grusin brothers, right? There's Dave Grusin, and then there was another one, Grusin, and he did the charts for this whole thing at Red Rock. So, and I was like, I'd still lived I was 19 maybe, or just before I'd left, and there was already a guitar player, and I said, well, I'll play bass. And I didn't know. I mean, I kind of knew how to play bass, but I had to read. And I remember I had the charts like a week ahead of time, and I just remember woodshedding so that I could pretend that I was reading.
You know how many guys have told me that they woodshed, they practice so that it looked like they were reading charts.
Yeah,
a lot of them get busted too, because the artist or whoever will come over and say, "Hey man, you're not really reading, are you?" And most of them say no.
Well, plus I need to still read it anyway to like get through it anyway, but because I didn't have any tape, but so I had to learn how to read in bass clef.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I had to transfer because I took classical guitar and knew how to read and did all that. So, but I had to transfer the clef down. I just had to like rethink like, oh, that's not an A, that's a C or whatever. Yeah. So, but it was a good challenge, and so that was the only time I played Red Rocks. But I wanted to go back like with a proper band. But
but you played Red Rocks, dude. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it was a pretty fun event. So
I'm curious about this. What is your definition of happiness? You're a very easygoing guy, man. I couldn't see you getting aggravated. Do you get aggravated a lot?
Yeah, I get aggravated. Yeah, I mean, we all get aggravated, right? I mean, there's always little things that aggravate us. It's just how do we deal with it, and how do we, my wife sees me get aggravated.
I know it's always the spouse, man. Like, you're like, it's poor spouses.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's certain frustrations where maybe people don't see it the way you think they should see it, or this or that. But I want to. It's much better to deal with it being positive than negative, even though that's hard all the time. There'll be certain things that, whether it's work or related or this or that, where you get frustrated and you just go, okay, I can't, this is out of my control. I just got to deal with it the best I can and just approach it as positive as possible. I like to, I grew up a pretty optimistic, positive kid. I think as we get older, we lose some of that sometimes. And I try to remember to get that back.
Yeah, I've gone reverse. I grew up really, that does make sense. The reverse. I grew up really pessimistic, and I've gotten very optimistic as I've gotten older. And I really, because I grew up pessimistic, I work really hard to keep looking at the glass half full instead of half empty. Because I had a whole lifetime of that, and it didn't really work.
Yeah, and after a while you go like, wait, I'm just beating myself up.
Yeah, I'm like, why am I? I'm in control here. Let me just make a better choice.
Yeah, and half the time you realize like things you worry about or get pessimistic about, you don't need to be.
And you can't control them anyway.
Can't control them, or a lot of them you kind of made up in your head thinking that's what that person is thinking or doing, and it's not.
nothing remotely to do with that.
No. So I just, it's like, I want to try to live a long, full life. So I'm trying to be happy. And again, that either for me, it's like playing guitar or going to the beach. I love the ocean. Is
do you
just seeing that, just hearing the waves and feeling that ocean air. And
how far are you from the ocean?
20 minutes.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I've seen a lot of Facebook pictures of like ocean at, I can't believe how much, this sounds stupid to anybody who lives in California, of course, but everything is rock and mountains. I was like blown. I mean, I've never, of course, Florida's completely flat.
Right.
From New York City, not a lot of mountains. Of course, upstate New York, but like everything in California, it's all mountainous.
Yeah, it's a beautiful state. I mean, that's why the taxes are way high.
It was absolutely beautiful, but I mean, I don't know. Everything's carved into the mountains. That's like, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, LA's interesting because San Diego, just all the hills and mountains just in the city. Yeah, great. Oh, Teddy, I'm waiting for my daughter to wake up to.
So definition of happiness, man.
That's right. Definitely is having a dog and a daughter.
What do you like most about you, man? Now I'm going to make you really uncomfortable.
Yeah, that is uncomfortable. What do I like most about? I would say my sense of adventure. That whether it's even in, for example, I had to take my aunt back from Denver. So my brother and I will help my aunt because she can't drive alone, but she wants to go visit my mom, her sister in Denver. So I flew to Denver and would drive her back. Teddy, no.
Man, you just don't let it go, man. Don't worry about it. You're gonna be doing that the whole time.
Yeah.
Like when you
barking.
Yeah, when you say Teddy, no, he's not listening. He's not.
He's going like.
So don't worry about it, man.
She's going like, I'll bark some more.
Yeah, right.
So we took a drive back from Denver to San Diego, and we thought, and we had no time schedule, just us.
That's cool.
And I said, let's stop in Winslow, Arizona, because I want to stop in Winslow, Arizona, because I've always passed through there.
Because the
never
Eagles
stopped.
song.
The Eagles song. So we're
Standing
going to
on
stop
a corner
in
Winslow, Arizona.
Oh, and we took pictures there. There's a statue there. We did the whole geeky thing.
That's cool.
But I said, let's find the funkiest old 50s motel and stay there.
That's wild.
Because, there were nice, like a Fairfield and there, or kind of Holiday Inn, nicer ones, but for a town like that, and I said, it would be kind of fun to do that, just take this adventure and let's just do it. And she says, oh yeah, we're into it. So the whole day we're just driving, thinking about, we're going to stay at this pool. And it was the funkiest. I would never stay there again.
You had a roll of quarters for the vibrating bed?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, it was like that. But so just things like that, or just even with my kids, I'll surprise them with that, or just with and it just reminds me to do that more often.
Yeah,
that just sense of adventure. Like an adventure could be as simple as like I'm going to a different restaurant.
Yes, totally.
Or I'm driving a different route. It can be as simple as that.
And it definitely does change your mindset when you make a left instead of a right when you're always going right. It's like, wow, I've never seen this building, and this is cool. It's just relaxing. Let me open the window. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
These are like little tricks I find. I do stuff like that just to keep things interesting, just to keep me curious, because I like being curious,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And then sometimes you say, what's this restaurant? I would tell my wife about, hey, I just saw this restaurant, let's go there. Of course, she always knows about it. I don't know how, but
right, that's what they do.
Flip side, if you could change one thing about yourself, what would that thing be?
Oh man, I would say a change. Boy, this is
Tim, I had to take you out of your comfort zone some
No,
point in this interview.
I know you did. You did. It's, I think I mean, the change, I think, I've learned to trust myself and instincts more, but I think I would say more of trusting myself and being maybe, I guess wanting to be more confident in certain things.
Sure.
I'd say that's a, I think that still stems from being kind of a shy kid inside,
Okay, yeah. You're not shy now, though, are you? Or are you?
No, well, I'm not shy. I'm not shy in small, if it's like one-on-one or a couple people.
Right.
It gets hard if I think I get more anxiety when there's like a large group of people, or like you step into a party, or you step into like even this thing I was doing in Nashville once a month. We every morning get on the bus and there's 44 people, and you'd walk down the gauntlet of people.
And you feel a little self-conscious.
Yeah, and I think that's something I'd like to be better at, but maybe I don't need to be. I don't know, but yeah.
I totally get it. Thanks, man. Thanks for sharing that. Something about yourself people might be surprised to hear or find a little odd.
Oh, wow. That's that I enjoy singing karaoke.
That's cool. How often do you do that?
Not enough. I mean, that's how I met my wife.
Really?
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, she was hosting a karaoke show at this local bar down the street. She did it like twice a month.
And how long you been with her?
We just celebrated our 22nd wedding anniversary. So
that's great. Congratulations.
So we've known each other 25 years. Yeah.
That's great, man.
Yeah. So
I got to tell my son.
Sweet Home Alabama.
My son started doing karaoke. I got to tell him that you met your wife there.
It's just, I don't know. It's just kind of it's funny. It's something my brother loves to do. We'll kind of get together and
all the Godwins
doing it, going out doing karaoke. Because I think it's part of it's the inner ham too inside you. You can let release in a fun way because you're, I don't know, but that would be one.
Are you the only one in the family that got into music professionally?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. Who's had the biggest influence on you in your life, musically and then also professionally? I'm sorry, personally.
Personally, wow, that's man. I've had influence on me musically there's been a handful of people. I can't point to one person. I would say it started with my uncle.
Right, who taught you
AC? Yeah, who really kind of got me into playing guitar.
He's still around?
He is. He's actually celebrating his 90th birthday.
Oh man, is he still in Ithaca?
Yeah,
that's wild. I know exactly where Ithaca is because I went to school upstate for a couple of years.
Yeah, so he's still up there with my Aunt Joan.
That's really cool.
He's celebrating 90 years in the next month. So
very cool.
And then another influence. I mean, early on in my playing guitar was really Michael Thompson. He was a big mentor. Pete Anderson was a huge influence. I mean, when I went to school with him, he was kind of like the big brother.
Yeah, and he was really into the content is what I'm saying, but it's the wrong word. He was really into the curriculum at guitar, GIT at that time. The Howard Roberts.
Was really interesting. Matter of fact, when we not too long ago, a bunch of us kind of had a little mini reunion for Dan Gilbert, who was in our class, who's still a teacher there.
That's really cool.
A bunch of us, couple came down from Northern California and a couple that live in LA, and I came up from San Diego, and we all had dinner and we surprised Dan.
That's nice.
Went to his little surprise thing, and talking to Dan, I said, so how's the curriculum? Because I said we were really lucky because of the way they taught back then was really definitely outside the box, the way Howard Roberts' brain worked. And he said, yeah, the problem now is, the curriculum has changed to be more, it's about testing.
More YouTube friendly.
Yeah, probably just like any curriculum of any schools change. That stuff always changes. Yeah. I mean, I think that's just normal. But it was a really great. I mean, it was a really great time. And like I said, Pete was. I had to remind him of this. He'd forgotten. I think one of the first like cool little sessions I did was in his apartment when he said, okay, we're recording this song and I just want you to hit the pillow on 1 and 3 because it's going to be the kick drum. The pillow that's where I first thought, wow, you could use a pillow as a kick drum. Take a drumstick and hit the pillow and it got this nice thuddy sound for the kick drum. And
he's such a smart guy, Pete Anderson, man.
Oh, yeah.
He's a very smart musician.
Great player. So I'd say him. And then, and then in my professional career on this side of it, my friend Jack Sani, it's kind of really got my head into and what was important about that is we understood each other because he was a musician and then got into the corporate world, right? Going from Dire Straits to like working at Seymour Duncan and then Line 6 and so I could relate to him and just knowing that I think the biggest thing, this kind of goes back to like that transition thing now that I'm thinking about it, is learning the thing I thought I was going to lose was being creative. I think when making that transition from musician to corporate, right? Because as a musician, it's all about creativity and this and that. And when I learned that, I can be creative in this world too. It's a different type of creative.
Just solving different problems, yeah.
Yeah, but still be creative in that world. He was good at that to kind of teach me like, wait, I can. It's fun to be. That's where the fun part is, to be creative in that part, in the business part. Yeah. So he made a big impact.
And how about personally? Who's been the biggest influence on you?
Personally, I'd say growing up, my parents, my dad early on, just, he was, I think this will sound weird from all the stuff of me talking about how being a shy child, but he was really good with people. And so was his father. My grandfather on that side was really good he was just he never met a stranger.
Well, you could be shy and be really good with people.
Yeah.
They're kind of mutually exclusive, really.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. So
I mean, you're very good with people.
Well, and I think that comes from, my dad is, he was,
what did he do? What kind of work did your dad do?
He was in the Air Force, and then he worked as an engineer for Martin Marietta.
Oh, cool.
And then decided he wanted to do his own business and maybe realized that wasn't the best thing. But he's retired now. And then my mom, I think she's a very loving, caring, human being that loves her family, and the sense of family, and her, my grandparents on that side, I would visit every weekend.
In Denver?
In Denver. And they were like, my second parents, because we just spent so much time with them. And, she was I think she taught me how to be kind of resourceful. Like if you had a question, she would go like, well, or if you wanted to find something out, she'd go like, well, let's look up here. Let's find them in the yellow pages, just how to use, how to learn to be resourced.
She's still around?
Yeah, she's still around. She's going to have her 4th birthday this summer. We're going to be back there this summer for her birthday. So.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And then my aunt. I mean, I think family is kind of, because that's your first point of entry into the world.
Yeah.
Your immediate family, and they're, my aunt's been she's awesome. So I've had some really good good people in my life.
Any hobbies outside of music?
Kind of a hack golfer at times. Love to body surf, boogie board. I love being in the water. Attempting to surf, but I suck. I can't, I own a surfboard. I can't say I'm a surfer.
That looks like it's so cool to do that.
Well, I know it's just like I see those guys get up there, and I'm going like, oh my God, I think this is my summer to actually take lessons other than just spot lessons from guys. Yeah. Like, I'm just going to go sign up and go, okay, I need like a month of lessons. Just go out like twice a week and go, I'm going to do this. That's kind of one of my, bucket list things. I live here, the great waves, and like I said, I love the water. I mean, I think that's why it would be hard for me to move away from here, is because I love the water. So
it's funny when we got married in Hawaii, and we did surfing and a bunch of water stuff, and we're doing. It was like this snorkeling one day, and we're like, shit, it's really cold in here. And they look at us and like, are you from Florida? We're like, yeah. You're the only people that thinks this is cold, because I guess most of the people from California come out there where the water is much colder.
Oh, the water's
Hawaii.
Cold. Yes.
Yeah. So for us it was cold because it's like bathtub water here. You gotta,
Yeah. No, the Pacific is cold.
Yeah, man, it was freaking freezing.
Yeah.
Toughest decision you've had to make, or most difficult thing you've had to do?
Toughest decision. Oh, man. Well, I mean, a tough one would be, that tough decision was making that transition from being a musician full time to a quote unquote corporate company guy, Mm-hmm. That was that took a lot of, I spent a lot of time thinking, going over the pros and cons, talking with my wife, and just had soul searching. So that was a tough decision. Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
And let me tell you, from an experience in a business setting my whole life, pretty much, corporate in the music industry is nothing like corporate in like accounting or
right.
It's
exactly.
nothing like that. It's so much more laid back and so much more esprit de corps and than the real world.
Which is true, which I found.
Business, hardcore business is probably a better way to say it. Yeah,
absolutely. Which I didn't know going, and then when I got into it, it was like, oh, I actually know more than I thought I knew.
Yeah, and you think,
on that side, yeah.
And you're working with all musicians.
Yeah. So it was an easy transition once I got in, but. Yeah. I think more of it was just a decision of doing that, giving up. Like, okay, I am. Yeah. My title's not going to be Tim Godwin, guitar player.
Yeah, that's the tough one.
Yeah. And what was the other question?
No, that was the toughest decision you've had to make, or most difficult thing you've had to do. Yeah. You answered it. One more question: biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that has been intentional, and how much is just part of aging?
I think probably more comfortable in my skin. And that's part of aging and part of just, just feeling, like trusting myself and I think.
Yeah, that's a very common answer for like guys over 50.
Yeah,
that's probably the number one answer. More comfortable in my skin. Hey man, thank you. I really appreciate everything. You're a hell of a nice guy. I knew this already, so this this is no surprise to me. Let me tell people how to connect with you and some stuff that you've got going on. First of all, you can connect with Tim on Instagram. His ID is Watonga, Watonga. Don't ask him what it means. It's a secret. I have to kill you to tell you. But it's Watonga, Watonga. Or on Facebook at Tim Godwin Music, and Tim's last name is spelled Godwin. If you are looking for Tim to work with you on some tracks or to do some scores or soundtracks like the work he did for the last 3 minutes feature, hit him up on Facebook or on Instagram. Again, it's Tim Godwin Music or Watonga, Wahtonga on Instagram. And if you are a new artist and you want free Taylor guitars, no, I shouldn't say that. Right? Is that what everybody? How often do you get an email that says, "Hey, man"? Like that, it's like are you able to sniff out like when someone gives you a cursory email, but you know where they're going? Like, I want to be a Taylor guitar artist. Do people just come out and say, like, are more people direct and say, hey, what, I'd like to be a Taylor guitar artist. What is involved in that? And am I qualified? Or is it more like the circuitous route of, hey, blah, blah, blah. And then like after 2 emails, then they give you can you tell, like you got to be able to sniff out.
Oh
now.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's a combination of both, but I always, I'll go like, hey, happy to, let me check, send me your info. What
sure.
you got going on. And then if it works out, happy to give you artist pricing.
Yeah.
And then, discount pricing, whatever. And then usually at that point, the ones that are looking for the free ones you don't hear back from them, or I've had some people.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
I've had some people.
Because I could just like see that, like
yeah. But you learn kind of what they're looking, and then the other part is where they'll go like, hey, man, I really love your company. I really want to get that new Martin D28. Can you? And you've realized they've hit up every company and they messed up by
saying they didn't change the email
competitor's name.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's funny because the same thing happens like with the show. I could just when someone said, hey, I really like the show, and I'm just not okay. Now I'm going to get the pitch.
Right.
And by the way, I'm doing this band. I think you'd love my music. And I get it, and I open minded, and I have.
Sure.
I listen, but it's just the thing. You could just tell when something's going, like when there's an ulterior motive. I always feel just like much better to just get it right out, and just because there's less time wasted.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. And there's. I mean, we've got stung a couple. Well, almost got. Robin, who was my assistant, she's really good, and she likes to play detective. So I'll go check this guy out. Or there was a guy scamming a bunch of music companies for a while that actually got out of Texas. That got, I think FBI was after him. I mean, so there's a group of us that will kind of email each other, because that's the other thing. It's kind of a close. We all know each other.
Yeah, right. So the guys at the other guitar companies, and they know you. Yeah,
right.
So if something sounds fishy, you'll say, hey, you'll call up your counterpart at another company. Have you gotten? Is this? Yeah.
Yeah, and that happened with this one guy, and we didn't. The guy kept going, well, it's for this photo shoot. And he had this mock-up email to make it sound like he could be part of this band. But I was like, I'm not really sure, and I kept holding him off because sometimes you don't know.
Sure,
right?
We got to do due diligence.
You're right, and we found out later that he was scamming all these people, and we didn't get caught in it, thankfully. Wow. But a lot of companies got like about tens of thousands of dollars taken.
Really? This always cracks me up. You got to work to get that.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Why would you not do something honest with all that energy? And you know what? It's just because some people are just wired like that. They're not capable.
I think
that's just the
way
it goes. Yeah, that's just
because it wasn't that much money when it's all said and done. It's like for all the hassle in what happened and all that.
Put that into making that money instead of stealing it. Right. That's just a wiring thing. Some people are just like, you got 2 paths. They're just not capable of going down this one path, and everything's got to be shady. I know, it's weird.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I will say there was one time I got a call at line 6, and it was from Daryl Jones.
Who's that?
The bass from the Stones. And
okay. Oh yeah,
the bass player.
Yeah.
And I'm going, how do I know this is Daryl Jones? Because sometimes it's a referral, right? Sometimes you get referred by, hey, I'm going to have someone call you, and you kind of know, or there's a common person that because I'm thinking, why is Daryl Jones calling me? But Billy Gibbons used to call all the time. Like twice a year, I'd get a call from at Line 6. We'd just talk on the phone.
That's funny.
And
how did you know it was Daryl Jones, or how did he prove it?
Well, I said, well, hey, if you want to check this bass pot, I'm happy to have you check it out, but I'm happy to bring it over to your house.
Right.
So he said, yeah, come on over.
Oh, he did. He said that.
Yeah.
Okay,
it was Daryl Jones. And
That's
I was
cool.
embarrassed.
That's funny.
But then it became, he became a friend after that, where it was kind of fun,
That's good.
But I didn't know.
No, I know you said I remember I got a phone call from Phil Collin from Def Leppard. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, and you're going like, why is he calling me?
Hello, Craig. This is Phil Collin, and I'm like, and I just pulled the phone back. I'm like, and I just thought of myself listening to Def Leppard records in my room as a kid. I'm like, what the?
Yeah.
What?
Why is he calling me?
How did that happen?
Yeah.
So I get that. It's weird. If people want to see you play out, because I know you do play out a lot, where is that posted, and where can people find you?
Pretty much for right now until I, my goal is my goal in the future is to get in some sort of blues band and play the whole blues cruise circuit.
Awesome. But no, you're not playing out on
for not
weekends
now.
Okay.
No, I mean, occasionally I'll be doing, like I did this James Taylor tribute thing at the Belly Up in Solana Beach, and I'll put that all up on
Facebook?
On my Facebook, yeah.
On the Tim Godwin music page.
On the Tim Godwin music page.
Moving and shaking it here, man.
That's right.
Hey, listen, thank you very much for everything. You're a lovely guy. I'm really glad I got to connect with you, and I'm glad we get to know each other. And thank you for being the way you are, man. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, Craig.
Everybody, oh man, likewise. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. I've got to read my own. I got to get this down. Ever since we started doing video, I have to memorize this now. This is embarrassing. I mean, I've read this 500 and something times, but I'm going to commit this to memory. Thanks so much to Tim Godwin for spending time with us. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out.